another bug. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, my villagers. How are you all out there today? Hope all is well. Hope all is well. We are trying to keep it real down here. So much going on. So much going on. I just want to thank my team here, Sheila Bird. I want to thank Juanita McClure. I want to thank my promo crew. I certainly want to thank my engineer here, Norm. I appreciate him. He keeps it real for us. And of course, my co host, Rose Moore. Don't know what I'd do without her, you know? Now, we have several major issues I want to highlight today, major concerns affecting different communities. One, I addressed this last week. My white sisters, I asked the question, what's wrong with your men? And the questions still remain. I mean, I've been getting a few answers from my white brothers and sisters that I hope that you all have been listening to, because they give the answer that I'm trying to get to you, coming straight from the horse's mouth, you know? And when I say what's wrong with your men, I'm declaring that something has to be wrong with men who just concentrate on how to mistreat other people on a daily basis. I mean, we have issues in every community where people are not doing the right thing, as you know. But when you get to them being the majority of folks in your community that is concentrating on just destroying other people's lives, you got to ask the question, hope that someone can rein them in, find out what's happening with them, you know. Now, but I have a question today for my Latina brothers and sisters, their community. There's a voting going on in New Jersey today for governor. Yes. For governor. And I understand that a group called let me get this straight now, Confraternidad Latino de Pastores has endorsed the Republican Jack Chadarello. I know I'm not pronouncing his name right. But anyway, the Republican person running for governor on the state for the state of New Jersey. Now, I understand he's a Trump supporter. And my question is, what's wrong with your community in voting for the continuation of Donald Trump? Has he not sent enough ICE agents in your community? See, that's the question. I'm really, at this point, totally confused. Or I can't imagine. All the dirt he's done already, it's not enough for you? But in any case, that's what on my mind today. Now, we in the black community, we have enough of our own on our own plates to keep us busy until that man in the office is out. I understand there is an AI-generated portrayal of black men forming a militia. Now, that's deliberate and intentional to get us in a position that when they send the army in, they will have an excuse. So you know what that means, preparing our men to be slaughtered. What I say, we should sue the government right now, this community, to sue the government because that's affecting our whole entire community for false accusation and slander.
Know it's a lie.
Yeah, they know it's a lie. They know it's dangerous. It's real dangerous, And so now there's recent attacks on the historical black colleges and university, HBCUs. These recent incidents over the weekend, I understand at Lincoln University there was a shooting, and near the Howard University. It was not at Howard University, but they claim now they're going to pinpoint it at to be Howard University homecoming, but it was not at Howard University. But that's preparing the justification to increase security in our community.
Right.
The incident was not on Howard campus, as I said, but they are trying to paint it as such to have a reason to invade our colleges. We have so much on our plates these days, and it's becoming more difficult to handle them.
Yes, you got to be wise and alert.
Got to be alert. Got to be intentional about how we go about our business in this society today. We still need to ask the question, what you going to do about it? You know, Trump, now another thing too, Trump is vying right now for a third term.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
and I guarantee you he will get it if we are not careful. See, the first mistake we made was not to call this last election what it really was, a steal. And that's what he did. He stole the election. We Democrats are so afraid to look like we are conspiracy theorists. We don't want to look, and they're going to claim that anyway, whether we look like it or not.
Right.
We want to appear so fair, so above reproach, and they dismiss that anyway. They accuse us of everything. We are going to find ourselves in a place where we will be unable to disentangle ourselves for years, if ever. One of the things I think of is the mobilization, not in terms of a militia, but as we think of it, not in terms of weapons, because Trump will send the army in on us, and we know that, so we don't have a chance there.
Right.
But we can form a militia now with our money. Now, they say, I heard, I learned, that black operate out of a multi-trillion-dollar budget.
Absolutely.
If we form coalitions around holding our money for a year, we can break the back of this country. And I don't mean just boycotting a few stores, which is good right now too. We got to start somewhere. So that's a great thing. I'm glad we're doing it. But I mean, as the mainstay for how we're going to move in terms of meeting the challenges that face us. I mean, a unified effort organized by the churches, organizations, sorority groups, families, and any other organized bodies get together.
Yes.
You know? But we would have to be deliberate. We would have to be intentional and specific.
Right.
That can be more effective and safer than having a pile of weapons.
Absolutely. Strategically
plan. Okay. Now, I'm not sure. I don't really have a guest today, but I have a brother today who knows about organizing. He's been an organizer over 40 years. Norm, do we have our brother on? Not yet? Okay. Well, this brother, if he comes on, he's celebrating his 40th anniversary with an organization he called the National United Youth Council. And I'm talking about no other than Brother Salim Ishmael. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Rose Moore, and she's going to talk up a little bit about what she and the babies are doing.
Yes, my children. I miss them so much in this season here, but they're on sabbatical. You know, school started and all, so we got to get them a chance to get acclimated to their studies. But they are on the front lines. We are reading. We started a segment in reading Black books. They need to learn about themselves, share their narratives with their schoolmates, their family and friends. And so we'll be starting back up, I believe it's December?
In December,
the last Monday in December. And when we want you to tune in, we're going to not only solicit, but we're going to do a campaign so that the young people in the schools will be tuned in to share in the experience of Black. We're reading the book. What are we reading? The first book would be
The Miseducation, I think, of the Negro. By Carter D. Woodson. Yes, and that's a great book to start with.
You know that I hate to call him a devil, but I don't have another word for him. and the White House is trying to continue, despite that the world has learned that who are and we are as well learning on just how significant we are in this world from
Yes,
the beginning, and
exactly.
how and he still believes that he can erase our history by taking the books away.
Hmm.
So what we're going to do is make it our business to implant the contents of the book into the hearts and minds of our young people so
That's it.
they know they come from a great people. We are the only people that God has made.
Yes.
Everybody else came from us. So this is information. So I want everybody to tune in. You're not going to be disappointed.
Yes, that's knowledge. That's the idea of the podcast here. We want to share knowledge, 'cause at least we perish for lack of knowledge,
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
scripture. So
Absolutely.
we'll want to continue to give the knowledge that we know we need to have. You know, I told you the podcast initially was primarily to um, reestablish
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to our original self from before the 400 plus years that we've been in this the
Been stripped.
diaspora, been stripped, and that's for real.
Mm-hmm.
We and that's what make us unique from other groups. We are the only group of quote enslaved, and I like to get another word around that,
Mm-hmm.
because if we're to compare ourselves with other folks who have been enslaved,
Right.
then ours certainly was something different.
There's no
So
comparison.
no comparison. So we were stripped, and we were chattel slavery. Chattel slavery mean we were made, we was created and classified
Yeah.
as non-human. You know, 3/4 of human being, when other people who were enslaved were not classified that way. So ours is different. We need to redefine of what we really are. Least we get caught up into trying to compare ourselves with uh, other people. Because, you know, Rose, I was talking with someone the other day, and they made the statement, well, you know, Africans even enslaved each other. No, no, no,
Mm-mm.
no, that
It's
was
not
not.
not
That
to
was
be
the same.
compared. No.
So once we go into and redefine, you know, fine tune it to make us know that ours was not the same as.
Just tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
They have no
Uh
knowledge
huh.
of
We
the
were
truth.
right. Not only we, like I said, we were not only the chattel slavery who was dehumanized.
Mm-hmm.
We were stripped of all that was dear to us. We were stripped
Mm-hmm.
of our language,
Our
culture,
family members.
religion, everything, and other folks weren't had that happen to them.
Right. They didn't
So
have
we
that
came out a
experience.
totally different group of people, inhabitants of our homeland, Africa,
Right.
and we now are correcting ourselves to the degree that we understand that because we were the first human being that inhabit the entire planet, we
Mhm.
were all over the planet at
Right
one
here
time.
too.
So we was here too. We understand it, but to the
Indigenous.
extent, right,
Right.
to the extent that we were snatched from our homeland, and I call it human trafficking. Uh,
That's a good term. Yes.
that's what it
Because it's
was.
the truth.
That's the
It's
very
the
truth. That's
truth.
what it was. And they brought us over here and
Mhm.
made us work for free, build this whole country that we have over here. And now they want to take it away from us and want to go back to when it was good for them.
Mm-hmm.
When it was good for them, or when they had their feet on us and we couldn't move
Right.
with slavery.
But
That's
we're
never
waking
going to
up,
happen.
though, Ruby.
Oh, we
We're
are
waking up, and
waking,
we are taking a stand.
definitely.
And I wanted to tell you, ask you, how did you like the first episode of Learning to Resist? They're teaching us
Oh,
in church to learn
yeah, well,
to
that's the
resist.
beautiful thing about our church, First Baptist Church of Lincoln Garden, is following in our ancestral footstep of teach, because that's where we learn whatever we learn was from the church. We
Mhm.
were not allowed to do what we needed to do, read and whatever, but we
Right.
was always had a way in the church through
Right,
or spirituals or
right.
however we managed to political whatever,
our
it was
whole
from the
well-being.
church. So
Right.
now our church there, First Lincoln Garden, we have this class going on, Freedom School we call it.
Yes.
And and I'm excited about it because it's something to learn.
I've learned so much.
Yes, yes, and then you know that there are folks who may not have had this opportunity had it not been to go to that church
Right.
to learn it.
And we are learning to resist because,
Yes,
as you said a couple of minutes ago, there is more than one way to fight.
yes,
You know what
yes.
I'm
It's
saying?
more than one, and we have got to be strategic.
Yes,
We've got to
yes,
be intentional. Now we
yes.
just got to be persistent in the way we uh, go about it.
Hmm.
I often say that we are we're the only group
Hmm.
that real when we use the word, well, we're not a monolithic. We sometimes say that word without thinking. I think we're not monolithic.
Right.
Well, maybe we should be a little bit more monolithic in
Yes.
our thought process because we have never had the opportunity, unlike other groups.
Hmm.
There are groups who get together on an annual basis.
Hmm.
You know, the B'nai Brit and
Hmm.
the Birch Society. All those groups get together to figure out what they're trying to do to maintain
Right. Power.
power,
Hmm.
where we really don't have that. And I
Hmm.
often say the only group that I could even point to that is similar to that, and they do
Hmm.
have that, the Nation of Islam. Well, they got
Yes.
that's a group that get together and they know what
Yes.
this, on one accord. They know what it is that they're going to do. We
Yes.
really don't have that, and then we more than any other people need to be strategic, get together where there's an annual basis to come back with not monolithic but
Hmm.
consensus.
Yes.
See, because if we don't, we're thinking in 1,000 different directions. That's why when you have a person like a Clarence Thomas, when you have a person like,
Oh,
Candace Owen, that's because they have not been in a position that they have been made to listen,
and challenge. They have never been,
challenged.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, and so we need to challenge ourselves so we'll know that we do need a consensus. We need to get together, learn how to understand where we come from,
Right.
and by learning of where we come from, we know that we need to work on doing something to bring us together.
Yes.
We're not just going. It's not an automatic thing.
Hmm.
I mean, we're great now, but we're not infallible in that we don't have. We need direction.
Hmm.
We need correction.
Hmm.
We need a reversal of the brainwashing that have branded us to be who we are. I told you my fifth book was scheduled to be damaged goods
Hmm.
made in America.
Hmm.
Because we are, without a doubt, damaged.
Hmm.
Anybody would be. As I say, we are human beings. So
Right.
if you have done what we've been done to over 400 years, you have to have been damaged. And if you don't realize that, see, there's still something wrong.
Well, we're on the right track.
But we are
Looking for
on the right track.
amateurs, people
Uh-huh.
who are experts in what?
Exactly.
History,
Exactly.
psychology.
Yes.
We
yeah.
need people that understand
Faith-based,
spiritual,
spiritually.
spiritual matters.
How to bring all this stuff together, how to make us know that we understand clearly that there is a game being played on us
Yes.
and still being played on us.
Still being
But it
played.
was serious when they brought us over here and just totally dehumanized us to the point where they took everything that they could take from us.
Right. Didn't even allow us to read the Bible.
Exactly.
You know,
or
like-
read anything, as a matter of
And
fact.
call
And that's
themselves religious men.
please give me a break. And even as we speak today, being even the little gains that we made over the last 200
They're trying to
years,
block 'em.
they're trying to block them
Mhm.
and reverse them in our face. If we don't know, but the thing good about us today is not that we weren't before. We were very alert. We knew what was happening to us. We were limited in what we could do about it.
Right.
We're less limited now because we're going
Right.
to we'll survive this. We really survive this with God's help. We know that there are places, times, and places that we can get together,
Right.
and we're gonna figure this stuff
We're
out.
resilient.
Yeah, we're very
But we
resilient
want to
people.
thrive. It's high time that we thrive.
Yeah.
We built
Yeah.
this country.
Yeah.
How
And
dare
Rose,
them?
as a matter of fact, in spite of what it looks like,
Mhm.
we're not only surviving, we are thriving.
Yeah.
You're right. Even to
Taking in consideration
yeah,
what we've been through.
we are thriving, exactly. Even in spite of all that they've thrown at us and still throwing
us,
at
look
us,
at
we
us.
just look
Look
at.
how wonderful we are.
Everything we do, other folks want to follow, want to
Exactly.
imitate.
Well, we
wanna
set
imitate,
the pace
paid
for the
it.
world.
Exactly. So with that happening, we are survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm going to do, the idea behind this podcast is to, like I say, impart. I used to say information, but I'm gonna make it more specific. Knowledge, because information can come from anywhere,
Right.
and it's always, depending on who's giving the information.
Right.
But the knowledge what we bring here is knowledge, because we want to always be conscious of we will perish for lack of it if we don't.
Right. That's right.
So
That's
we're
what the
bringing
word
the
says.
knowledge.
Right.
And now, Norm, do you have a piece that I want to play?
This is one of my favorite
one
parts.
of my favorite parts.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
bringing it from folks who we know that know what they mean.
Signs of waking up.
Waking up.
And
That is
getting
what
the
good
word out there.
exactly. When
And
I hear other
correcting the
people,
narrative
exactly,
and exposing the scheme.
exactly. And what piece we have coming on now, Maron? Norm? Okay.
The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And though that's the kind of information that we're going to have to begin to be consistent with.
Yes.
Otherwise, we fall into the, this whole idea that, I don't know what is truth anymore and what is not when we are saying it. But when it comes from someone else who we respect as having the knowledge to know, then it takes on a different
and
meaning.
it's time to stop the madness.
Stop the madness. And I think we have another one, Norm, that I would like to play now before I bring the African piece on. That's the last one.
Reason it matters that Jesus is black? Yeah, I know what you're saying. It doesn't matter. It matters, bro. We stole an entire identity from these people. There was a race that was chosen by God, okay? When God was playing this Sims game, he chose a black character, okay? Because that most closely related and identified with his personality. He wanted to be humble. He wanted to come as a meek person. Bro, the entire Bible is a redemptive story about black people. From going from last to they're gonna be first, bro. It's the entire Bible is like the redemption of a race that was being used for slavery since the beginning of time. Think about this. This is why black people are superior to white people. This is why they can run faster. They have harder heads. This is why they can jump higher. They're the chosen race of God. It's so in your face, dude. The Egyptians with the cornrow hair, and now where are all our Egyptian people, bro? I don't have any Egyptian friends. I have never met an Egyptian, dude. It's like they just disappeared, dude. What happened to that whole race of people? It's black people, okay? When you read the Bible, the reason it doesn't make sense to you is because you're not replacing the word Jew or Hebrew with black person. black people, you have the most sacred, beautiful position. You have the biggest shoes to fill. I am so sorry for everything. You'll all see. You'll all see when we get up there. You'll see when we get up there and Juicy J is playing. Okay? You'll be like, oh, oops. Crazy dude on TikTok was right. It's everywhere in history. White people whitewash history wherever we go. We take that for ourselves. Bro, the Egyptians had electricity, okay? The Luxor, the Black Pyramid that shoots up light into the sky. What do you think that's about, dude? They had electricity, dude. The Nile had all the elements for batteries and electricity, like the copper and the salt water and the limestone and everything. Look up the Djed Towers, dude. Anyway, Jesus is black and he's coming back. The reason it matters that Jesus is...
See, that's the kind of
Amen.
information
Amen.
we need to get to our people as well as the other ones, because many of our people really don't understand the nature by which we have been brought over here, and information like that been eliminated and kept from us. That's why they're taking books. And you wonder why they're going to the trouble of taking books out of libraries, taking books out of school. All that information is in there.
Right.
And it is good, though. See, what you do for evil sometimes turns out to be right, because now people are hearing it from
Their own.
yeah.
Their
So
own.
I would not have had that on there if you would have been allowed to go to the library.
Mhm.
Okay.
But what do
so
you
you better
always say about what Martin Luther King says?
I tell you, truth crushed to the earth
There
will
you go,
rise
shall
again.
rise again. So they
And-
cannot.
Yeah, they cannot
They could
keep
try
it
their
going.
best. All the
And
money
it just
they
goes to
spend
show
and
you.
efforts.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that this is it's out there. It's in
But I'm
the
so scared, Ruby, because when this country gets its due for the evil that it has done from
well, see, that's what they're
generation to
afraid of.
generation.
That's what they're afraid of. But
Ah,
they
right,
don't know
right.
that we don't. That's not in our nature to even
Exactly.
do
And
what they
never have
did.
been.
Never have been. But that's what really is part of what they're afraid of. Is that we will, if we ever got to power, we will, remember.
Right.
And we will do to them what they did to us. That just won't happen because
Right.
that is not in our nature.
They got to
But
deal
that's
with
it.
God.
Yeah. But that is part of what we do here, is to make sure. There's another quote I like that says, "Change only comes when truth is told aloud."
Absolutely.
When you say that aloud, don't keep it
Yes,
hidden.
yes.
You know the truth. It's no point in trying to hide
Because
it.
it doesn't come back void.
Right,
when it goes
exactly.
out.
Exactly. You need to express it. You need to let them know you know the truth.
Yes, yes.
And regardless of what they are saying, however they may frame a situation, because who control the narrative control the person.
Right.
So if that is one of the reasons that we have not been able to get out from under what we've been put under for these
Yes,
200 years.
yes, yes.
When you listen to, I wrote the book I wrote, Verbal Healing,
Mm-hmm.
talks about that too. How we adapt to words
Right.
or expressions that belittle us,
Yes.
dehumanize us.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me, I want you, my villagers, to understand. I got this, my first children book. I want you all to
I was
keep
gonna
it.
mention it.
Yeah, I want you to remember
I'm
that.
excited.
And I'm excited too. It's called "What's in a Name." What it is, we start from our young people to let them know that calling names or people out of their names or negative things about each other, it matters.
Yes, yes.
It frames who you are. It grows on you. And the book I have is
Tend to
titled
stick.
"What's in a Name."
Yes.
It's about the kids who out playing innocently, and they're calling the name and they're using the N-word. And I have a problem with this N-word thing.
Yes.
It's all in our rap music now and everything. We got to I don't know how we're going to get them away from that. But it got to understand that names matter. You know, this. I want you all to be conscious and deliberate in helping me get this book out and in the ethos, because it's necessary. What's in a name means that these kids are using the N word. This the little girl here says, just before she was prepared for school, she's just a little tot, but she always tattler. She's a tattler. In other words, just a tattler. So her brother says, "Must you tell everything?" But what's in a name is when she got to school. Finally got to school, her teacher asked her what her name, and she said, "My name is Must." Now, you see what happened is he had called her Must so much he thought her name was Must. And when the mom came to pick her up in the afternoon, oh, it frightened the mom to death because she went to the classroom and she said, "I'm looking for Chastity," as the name is. And she said, "I don't have a Chastity here." Because the mom had dropped her off at the office. She was in a rush, so she dropped her off at the office. Office brought her to the classroom. Classroom, at the teacher asked her what her name was, and she said, "My name is Must." Well, you can imagine where that Must came from. Children, She heard it so much. Must you tell everything? Must you? And so she thought her name was Must. So the teacher, when the mom came to pick her up and looking for her child, Chastity, and the teacher said, "We don't have a Chastity," the mom was obviously frantic. Naturally so. I would be so. She said, "Well, I dropped my child off. I know I did." She said, "No, we don't have them." And at that time, Chastity came from behind a curtain. But she heard her mom asking about her. And the mom said, there's Chastity. The teacher said, "That's not her." She said her name was Must. And the mom's, I know where that comes from. So then she got the kids together to tell them to see what calling a name will do. The person begin to think that is who they are. So we stopped using words like the N word specifically.
Yes.
That is just not good. You use that word and we grow up thinking that we are the N word.
Right.
So I want you all to
negative
yeah,
comments.
right.
And the children are so impressionable.
Yeah, so impressionable that they begin to, and even the grown-ups now, you hear them out there. I think
cold.
sometimes the name is the N word because they use that more, fervently than they use their name. So anyway, we just trying to drop
My
this.
people perish
for lack of knowledge.
We just have
Simple
to
as that. People perish for lack of knowledge.
Keep the struggle
So I want
going.
my villagers to pay. One of the ways that we move things in this country is to, pay attention, and I want you all to, you and 10 other people, call in to wherever you get your books from, whether it's Amazon or bookstore or wherever. I would suggest we patronize black bookstores now.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Call in beforehand and let them know the book is coming, and you put it out there. And by the time it gets out, I hope that's within a month or so. By the time it gets here, we will have a good
I
sale.
want my autograph copy.
Okay. Norm, do we have our folks here? I could just recognize them for a moment until, okay, let me see what we have here. Robert Cabbage out, we're watching. Skill, watching. Okay, Joy Jackson watching. Lloyd Shivers watching. All right. I so appreciate you all so much for just tuning in. Thank you so much for watching us. Now, Rose, who was talking about the kids, and they're coming back in December.
Yes.
Yes. They have, like I said, I know you had them on the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, but you was telling me that there was other things that you was planning for them.
Yes, of course. We're going to do books.
Okay.
And each book we're going to take to another level.
Okay.
I don't want to give it all away, but I will say this. Come next year, we're going to go on another level. They're going to portray the character that they're reading.
Okay.
Okay, in the whatever the narrative is, whatever the content
Oh, that
is,
sounds
we're
interesting.
gonna dress them up.
Okay, that
Dress them
sounds
up,
real
and I
interesting.
think they will enjoy that,
Uh-huh.
and it'll make it more realistic to them. They'll be
Right.
able to relate. They'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to have the costume on
Mm-hmm.
of that individual.
Right.
And
Right.
the one I think is going to be the most difficult is Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
I'm
All
going to
right.
try to get Elijah to do Marcus Garvey.
He
He
wouldn't
doesn't have
mind.
the robustness, but
You
I
wouldn't
think
mind.
it's important. These books are important. We're reading in
Mm-hmm.
Freedom School David Walker, um, Message to the Colored Folks.
Okay.
And we are learning even about the struggle and the resistance to the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Even back in 1802 when he wrote that, he got the message out to the people through the church, of course.
Right. Right.
But they were talking about the same thing that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
the different ways of resistance.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like very much like we went 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago to the Million Man March reunion.
That's exactly.
Tell us about
Exactly.
that and,
Well,
and
it was
how
a
the women play a part.
right.
in
Right.
that.
Interesting. Interesting. I was at the celebration
Mm-hmm.
over there in Newark.
Mm-hmm. I was with you.
You were with me, and we had such a time.
It was my first
We
time.
had such a
It was-
time.
it was so wonderful.
The keynote speaker were the mayor,
Ras
Ras
Baraka.
Baraka, and then of course it was headed by Larry Ham.
Larry
He's
Ham.
going to be back with us at some point because Larry Ham is putting together a whole lot of other stuff,
Yes.
all the way through 26 already.
Right.
That's a busy young man.
Right.
He has this organization called POP, People Organization for Progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going for years now, so he's still moving.
Very instrumental.
Very instrumental.
Very-
Sort of like my guest that was expecting today, who had up this organization of his for years since he was a young man. I knew when he started it. But I'm so impressed with these people because that's what we need. When our ancestor, the great Joe Madison, say, "What you going to do about it?" That's what he means. You can do something. Any one person, any two person, you can do something to keep the movement going because that's
Right.
what our ancestors did.
Right.
If it were not for them doing something, we wouldn't be where we
Right. I
are
was
today.
surprised that women. I was surprised of the role that the women.
Well,
I don't know why it was.
Right. Well, what happened? We not necessarily invited, but when Minister Farrakhan summoned the men to come to Washington, over 1 million. They say it could have been 2 million.
Yeah, it was more than a
more than a
million.
million. Could have been 2 million. But what happened? This person, my friend Frederica Bay, who set up the organization with them, Women in Support of the Million Man March. The women weren't necessarily invited to come, but she got on the bus. She got on the bus and said she was the nurse for the men, But anyway, that was kind of cute. But anyway, so when she came back, we heard that Minister Farrakhan had admonished the men to go back into the community and do something. Well, she heard the call and she came back and said, well, he didn't say us, but we are going to do something. And what happened, she started that organization with at least, 20 of us, I think.
Wow.
And one of the things, I always consider her one of the greatest organizers I had ever seen, I have ever seen. And what she did, you can get a whole lot of people if you feed them. And she would get us over there every
we're great
third.
cooks, you know
Right,
that.
right. And she would make this soup that, I mean, just out of the world. This soup, and I think it was a Thursday night that we would all gather, and we did that, and it created this organization called Wisdom, Women in Support of the Million Man March.
Wow.
That satisfied the admonishment of Minister Farrakhan that we go back in our community and do things. That organization just, it was really an excellent organization. We created schools and everything.
Wow.
And there was the Atley Sanford School, I remember. And then we did a whole lot of other things, but like things that good sometimes will go awry when you don't maintain. And I don't say don't maintain, but there's we'll talk about that later. But it was a good organization. It did a lot of good stuff, and I was just very proud when we were over the other evening celebrating the Million Man March to
I
bring
was
that.
amazed.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so amazed. At
But
what
see,
I learned.
I was part of that group, and also I didn't go to the Million Women's March. It was in Pennsylvania. It was done at
Yeah, they
Pennsylvania.
mentioned something about
The Million Women March. I wasn't there, but what I was able to do, I was representative of Wisdom over here in New Jersey, and I was on Channel 7 News with what's the brother, the Hispanic brother had a show on Channel 7. I can't think of his name now, but I saw him recently. But anyway, I represented Wisdom on Channel 7 News at the
Wow.
time.
Wow.
And then they had the Million Youth March in New
Wow.
York.
Okay.
My sister and I, my late sister and I, Lula, bless her soul, we took off and went over there. That was years ago. But they had the Million Youth March, and we was part of that. We went over into New York and participated to the extent that we were just there representing. Uh-huh. But yeah,
That's
was
the way it has to go down.
yeah.
That's the way we have to
And I think
do.
they're talking about possibility of
Yeah,
trying to
of doing it
doing
again.
it again.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a great thing. Some think that maybe not, but I do. I think it's a great thing because the same as you have a reunion, a yearly reunion,
Right.
why not have a
Right,
right, representation
right.
there?
And this time the representation is going to be far, far greater. I can assure
Oh yeah.
you.
Oh,
I can
definitely.
assure
The time we are in now require that. One of the reasons, not the reason I wrote the book, but the book came just in the nick of time for explaining why we should, other folks can maintain their history and when like the 9/11, it's a yearly thing. People be emotional, they cry.
Right, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
All
So
the
when I
time.
wrote the book, Why Should I Not Cry? It was based on that whole idea behind we've been through a whole lot worse than most people, not most people, anyone in the face of the earth. So why shouldn't we cry? But see, back in the day of slavery, we weren't even allowed to cry because we could see our parents lynched or our mom raped
Yes, it was
or whatever. We were not
was
allowed
hard.
to even cry. So you wonder how people like us survived, And so part of what I did with this book would try to inform us again that we are missing some things that at least we get back to understanding how we are different,
Right,
why we were
absolutely.
made different. We're going to continue to point fingers at each
Why
other,
shouldn't I
and
cry?
I wonder why we aren't in a better position, similar to other folks. You know what I mean?
I'm just glad that I live now than back then.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have survived.
Well,
There's no way.
it's interesting that you would say that, and it's interesting
No way.
because we think that. We think that in
I
terms
would've
of.
killed
Well, I
everything.
tell you, we think that, but somehow many of us came through that period, or some didn't even come through that
Right,
period.
many did.
Many didn't come through that period, but we did what was at our
Necessary to survive.
not just necessary to survive, because some of us, in spite of it, we
Right.
challenged them.
Right, I would have been one of those.
Believe me, there were a lot of people in those sinkholes down there, in those rivers down there,
Yes,
and those
yes,
because
yes.
they rejected
Yes,
the whole
yes.
notion. I talk about the few things I did that could have put me there. So even when we're thinking about situation, that's why a person from my group, I call myself the silent generation,
Right,
meaning
right.
the
You
80 and
always
above.
say that, yeah.
That some of the things that we did could have very well have put us places that we may have not survived.
Right.
It's just by God's grace that we are here.
Yeah,
I talk about the time when I was just a youngster. Must have been 8, 9 years old or something like that. We had to walk to school. Where the white kids was on the bus, we walked 5 miles from our home back and forth. And the bus would pass us, and they'd holler out the window, "Hey, N," use the N word on. And we'll holler back, "Hey, white N." We knew no better.
right.
But my sister and brother and I used to walk to school, and we would pass this place. It was a store, And we would pass this place, and these little young white kids our age would come out and put the dogs on us, sit the dogs on us. You know, we were frightened of the dogs, but he would always bring them back just before we got. One day I said to my sister and brother, I said, if they do it again, I'm going to slap him. Now, his dad had a reputation of being one of the baddest white folks around. They say he had, actually, his belt. He had what you call those things on the belt to indicate that you done killed a black person.
Yeah, those not.
You know
I know what you mean. Yeah.
on the belt, and he did. And so people generally was afraid of him, and his wife was no better. She was mean too, but she owned this store, and we would go in there as kids and get something. My dad said, told them we could get whatever, and he would pay him at the end of the week.
Right.
But this little kid wouldn't hesitate. I mean, he just He just determined he was going to scare us to death, and he knew he was. So he would bring the dog back each time. This particular time, I slapped that boy so hard, I don't know what happened.
Wow.
Yes, because I said I was going to slap. I slapped him. He said, Mom. I said, shh. He said, Mom. I said, shh, 3 times. Now, I don't know what happened. We went on to school, but I was scared all morning because I knew coming back something would had to happen.
Right.
But did you know we came back and nothing
But no
happened?
happened?
So I know she had to have heard him in wherever she was in the kitchen, but she had to have heard him.
Right.
She either ignored it, knowing how bad he was,
Right,
and he should have
right.
got it in the first place,
Right. Right.
or something, because I know she had to have heard him. But that was one time.
Right.
And I told you just before I left to come up here, I was working at the this restaurant, Italian restaurant, and I was in the kitchen because we weren't allowed to be in the dining area.
Okay.
That was segregation at that time.
Okay.
We weren't allowed to be there. So I was in the kitchen doing what I do with the salad, cutting the salad. And this guy came to the door, but I thought he was talking to the owner, knowing he wasn't talking to me because we weren't supposed to communicate.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever question he was asking, I heard him and I didn't hear him because I knew he wasn't talking to me, assuming. And so the third time, he's used the N-word.
Wow.
Yeah, he say, N, don't you hear me? I heard him that time.
I know you did.
And when he say, N, don't you hear me? I picked that knife up.
No,
I had
you
the
didn't.
in my knife, and I went for him. But when I went for him, the son of the owner happened to come to the kitchen,
Wow, Ruby.
and he grabbed my arm.
Wow.
And what happened, they took care of the guy. But he said to they always took me home. They would take me home after work. And the mom said to me, you're going to have to go north because you're not going to be able to make it down here.
Right. Exactly.
Well, what she didn't know, I was on my way north anyway because my sister had sent a train ticket for me.
Exactly.
See, I had just graduated from high school. So I was coming north anyway to
Right.
be with my family up
Right.
here.
Right.
But I just
It's
working
a
in the
good thing,
meantime.
Ruby,
It
'cause
was
see,
good.
I'm like that too. That's why I told you I will never survive because I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna definitely get you.
Yeah, there was a couple other times. I won't go into it, but I stood my ground. But what I'm saying is that just was God's grace because they could have, even if whatever they had would have done to me wouldn't have been a thing we
I'm
could
sure.
do about it.
I'm
You know,
sure.
it would just
sure.
been another.
All the killing, lynching,
Yeah.
all of that.
So
It
that's,
was. I'd like to know what is wrong with them.
that's what I'm telling you. When you know what you know, you have to believe that there's something unusually wrong
Right,
with anyone
right,
who
right.
can do that kind of atrocity against
right,
another human being.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? When I thought about the fact, and I did my homework, that we only had one on record serial killer ever, ever, and that was the guy that was in the Marines, and he was psychologically damaged from being in combat. Remember, he had his nephew, and he put a hole in the back of the car, and he was shooting people.
Oh, I
white
remember.
folks,
I remember
right.
that.
He's the only one
Right.
on record
Exactly.
known ever,
Exactly.
ever.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yep.
so all the serial killers are of the Caucasian race.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
That's
what
why
I'm
I'm asking
saying
them.
is in 'em.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Something that's
Yeah.
in them.
Well, you know what I'm going to do right now? I guess didn't come. He was scheduled to be here, but I do have another piece. We have a segment called African Speak. Do we have that, brother, on Norm, that we could play?
And then I
Speaking
want
from
to ask you
Africa.
about your book.
Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna hear Africa Speaks.
You cannot claim to be the United Nations while disregarding the voice of 54 nations. It is not possible. Africa is no longer willing to wait on the margins of global governance while decisions about peace, security, and development are made without our understanding, without our perspectives, and without our voice. Africa's exclusion is not only unacceptable, unfair, and grossly unjust, it also undermines the very credibility of the United Nations, this organization. Africa dominates most of the Security Council agenda, provides some of the largest contingents of UN peacekeeping forces, and bears the heaviest costs of instability. Yet we remain the only continent without a permanent seat at the main table where decisions about our destiny are made. You cannot claim to be the United
Okay.
Wow, that was a mouthful.
That was a mouthful, and we need to understand that about our native land, what's going on around there. There's a lot of good things going on, so I hear. They are coming into themselves and taking responsibility, not taking responsibility because they already had that. It just they were colonized while we was enslaved.
Right.
But now they are coming around regaining.
Right. And they're
them-
speaking out.
Exactly, speaking out.
And they're resisting and they're taking
Resisting,
a stand.
exactly.
And that's going to lead me to ask you about your book.
Yes. I wrote this is my 5th book. I think you know of my prior books. My first book, well, I write social commentary books. I only wrote one fiction book. That book is called The Quarters, and it was a sort of a reality fiction, if you will.
But they're doing
Talk
something
about
with that book, right?
We're hoping that they might turn it into a movie. I'm
think
not
that'll
sure.
be great. I think
You're
that'll be
always hopeful. But anyway, it's a book about living in the quarters, and, which is pretty realistic, but fiction.
Right.
But then I wrote my first book. I wrote out of the sort of a desire to get us back in a place where we'll understand that there's something happened to us.
Right.
Had to have happened to us for us to
Right.
be in the position we're in.
Right.
So when I used to hear us come up with these expressions about the negative part, we are like crabs in the barrel, or we are this and we are that, I knew then I had to put something out there to kind of throw it in our face and say, well, if we really believe what we read about us as African people, many of us will tell you straight out, no, we were the first. We was the
Right.
we were the great inventors. So we're going to believe that.
Right.
We have to then try to figure out, well, what happened over a 400-year period that will reverse that.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Treacherous white folks.
Right.
That's what
Then
happened.
if you know that, then you say to yourself, okay, we were brainwashed, as our friend Dr. Calfani like to say, brain dirted. The brains were messed up. That's what we need to say. And then that book, Verbal Healing, we must reject tired, trite, tasteless, and other nonsensical expressions that keep us damaged. That one. Then I wrote the second book, Victims of Confusion. That's obvious. That's the little small book I wrote, Victims of Confusion, and that's self-explanatory. We know we are victims of the confusion that were presented to us.
Well, we were stripped of our
Yes,
identity.
exactly.
Right.
And then the third book I wrote, I said that was The Quarters, the fiction book. And then the fourth book I wrote was Emotions to Live With.
Yes.
Now that book
Yes.
comes from I was always
reading
very
that one.
conscious, really,
Yes.
always very conscious of what I was hearing and what made sense to me, and that kind of didn't make sense. I grew up in this little small church down in the country, where the pastor was very well. Everyone had a hand in raising us. And so he was trying always to make sure the kids was doing the right thing.
Right.
And of course, like kids, we would be fighting, or
Of
you know.
course, kids are kids.
And so when he heard us getting into some serious discussion about hate and all that kind of stuff, he would bring us together and say, "You can't hate. You're not supposed to hate." You know?
Right.
And it would confuse me because when I would sit in church and listen to him preach, and he says, God hates sin.
Yes.
God
yes.
is a jealous God. Well, naturally, as a child, I'm confused. I'm saying, now, if you're going to tell us not to hate, and
Right. Right.
So having grown up, I wrote the book Emotions Delivered because I realized I needed to explain to people we all have these emotions.
Absolutely.
My subtitle to that book was Let Go, Let God.
Right.
Which means that although we have these emotions that we are dealing with,
Right.
we cannot act on them.
Yes.
Can't always act on them all
Absolutely.
the time. So that's what that book was about.
Right.
Emotions to live with. And then this book here, the fifth book I wrote, Why Shouldn't I Cry? Ode to the Black Man. Well, I was giving tribute to the black man.
Right.
But in addition, which he deserved. And what I said, well, why shouldn't we cry? Because everyone else cries when they're celebrating
Right.
or
But they're
remembering.
expected to be strong.
Exactly. But here we were told that we couldn't
Yeah.
cry. And we were not allowed to cry. Well, a lot of our men have been just limited in their feelings because they was taught all their lives that it was not manly
And
to
we
cry.
have to understand that.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
understand that because that
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
played out in the relationships
Exactly.
between the black man and the black
And the
woman.
black woman.
We have that's why
Yeah.
I'm glad. That's why I'm glad I'm a part of this podcast.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
in understanding that,
Yeah.
and bring on guests on
Yeah.
that either hear testimonies or give testimonies,
Right.
so that we can open the narrative and share
Exactly.
and understand why. We know why our men do stuff.
Right, exactly.
We just don't understand what justification do they have
Yeah.
for 400 years.
Yeah.
That's why I call him the devil, because the Bible said the devil would deceive the whole world.
And what they need to let us know, let us believe that they know that there's something must be wrong with them to have these feelings about people.
I don't get it.
And I understand now, having learned a lot more about their own history, they were doing it to themselves long before they was doing it to us. So they are just sort of murderous people.
Right.
And that is real. That is
They
what
were
it is.
barbarians. Attila the Hun. That's
Yeah.
that's what's in them.
And I know we have to qualify by saying, people want you to qualify by saying, I ain't got time for it, but by saying not all of them. I know it's not all of them. I know John
Right.
Brown was he was put to the gallows for us. He worked for. There are those kids from back in the day when they were going down south. You remember the young
Oh,
men,
you
the
mean
three?
like Emmett Till and those
Not
guys?
Emmett Till, the young
the
white
white
people.
guys that went
So
with
there
them.
are white folks, who are not part of the definition that we are
Right.
giving
and
these
the white
folks.
women that were killed in helping them by preparing them food.
Right. So those we're not. I don't have to qualify because I'm
Right.
wasting time
Yeah,
when
we
I
have to
qualify. You know,
reconcile
you're talking about
anything.
everybody.
Right.
I'm talking about the majority. That's what makes us talk about the majority of them.
Yes.
Unlike other groups. Other groups, you have bad people in every group.
Right.
But not as a majority. It seems like a majority.
It's
of
an
them.
unprecedented
Yeah.
evil. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
It's-
sorry
it's-
about it.
it's
And if
deep.
we don't tell it like it is,
That's right.
we're going to always be in the
Exactly.
position we are now, trying to
Exactly.
figure out something.
Well, they can tell a
Yeah.
bold-faced lie and call us out of names that
Yeah.
are totally fabricated
Yeah.
to suit their own agenda.
Yeah.
So we can't tell the truth about what is factual, just, and right.
and how it's affecting us. Okay, look like our time is up. It always goes when you're having fun. I
Whenever
tell
there's
you.
a good conversation.
Yeah, I tell you, but we're going to be doing this as we speak on a weekly basis because I truly believe if we are not telling our story the way it's supposed to be told without hesitation but very intentional, we're going to continue in the position that we're in, and we can't do that. We got to call it like it
That's
is,
right.
and a spade,
Absolutely.
or a snowflake, however you want to phrase. But to the extent we got to call it for real.
right.
I appreciate y'all. My villager, George has passed the word. We need to hear from you. We need to
Yes.
know that you're listening, and we appreciate you. We really
Yes,
do.
we really
We
do.
ask that you continue. Next Monday, we're going to have a great show. I don't know the guest as yet, but we will have someone on for you next Monday. And we're going to say here, adios and God bless.
Yes.